Alright guys, so today I have gone through, redid the Barbarian, because I had just an idea in my head of a way to make it just like a little bit better for its all-in-one use. It does a little bit more damage, but what it really does is it does a lot of damage when you're mobbing. We'll get more into that when the video goes. I'll have a I'll have the old build in the description, and I'll also have the link to the new build in the description so you can compare the two. There wasn't a whole lot of changes, especially gear-wise. There was more aspects and a few changes on the paragon board, and a couple of changes on skill tree, but nothing too insane. All the vampiric powers are the same. But we were able to break over 400 million on this one, and um, it just does some pretty good damage, and it sustains berserking. That's the biggest thing. But let's get over to the build. We had some salty people in the last barbarian video, so I'm just gonna say Uber alert. But I have alternatives to the Uber uniques that are almost just as good, if not maybe a little bit better. Actually, come to think of it, with one of them. But anyway, so starting out, we have Shaco. Well, who wouldn't have seen that one coming, right? Um, Alternative for this is just the, I can't pronounce this, but we're just going to call it the Tuscalmighty. I know it's Tuscalm, but whatever. Um, the damage while berserking and the maximum fury are actually insane. The maximum fury you'll get as long as you're casting at full fury, 18% or 18% multiplicative damage added from that, and then the extra damage while berserking is really good for the blood rage node, but we'll get to that in a minute. And then the other uber unique, grandfather, of course. To be honest, I don't even know if this one's really better. Like it is, but it isn't, because you lose the damage while berserking and the additional 20% on edge masters by having to move edge masters here, right? And losing your damage while berserking, you lose your strength, your overpower damage. Like I don't know, but like there's the two alternatives for the Ubers. I got that out of the way. Everything else is the same gear wise from the last one, except for the aspects. Um, so total armor, max life, damage reduction close with numbing wrath on it, so we get 4 to 5 when we get to excess fury, which is going to tie into the mace aspect. Technically, damage reduction from close should be damage reduction while fortified, but it is what it is. It's what I got. This is where one of the changes came into. So before we had this aspect, Relentless Berserkers, on the gauntlets, and this is where the big change came in. We put Berserk Ripping on there, so when we hit stuff, they get applied with bleeding. It's a very small amount of bleeding, but the only thing that matters, and we'll get to that later as well, is that they have bleeding at all when they die. Go down here. Oh, sorry, I didn't read it off. We got attack speed, crit chance, overpower, and Hammer of the Ancients. Tibalt's Will. You should probably know what that does by now. Relentless Berserkers, moved those to the boots, like we were saying. We had Ghostwalker on here, but Ghostwalker just was convenient for speedrunning, but it didn't do anything. So this actually does something. And then we have resistances and movement speed. Over to the mace, all stats, overpower, damage to close, and damage while berserking. Standard, pretty much every build has it. And then we have limitless rage on there. That's a bunch of multiplicative damage. It's a huge damage boost. And then Edge Masters on both of these are the same stat-wise. So they got strength, overpower, damage close, damage while berserking. We got Edge Masters on one and Ancestral Force on the other. Go up here to the rings. Unrelenting Fury on the ring, so that when we hit stuff, we get a refund on our Fury. Critical strike chance, damage while berserking, max life, max fury, and then we have the Ring of Fury, which is like the thing that lets this be a really good all-in-one build, because that's what I do. I like all-in-one builds, because you use 2 Hammer of the Ancients, and then you get a guaranteed critical strike on top of the already critical strike from your critical strike chances, and stuff like that. He also gives max fury, and mine's a max roll, so that's great, but the bottom part is not very great, but we'll take it for now. And then lastly, the amulet is just got movement speed, total armor, fury cost reduction, cooldown reduction. That's where I got disobedience on there with my nice minimal roll. I should probably put a different one on there, but anyway. Yeah, and then we're gonna go over the vampiric powers. Period power wise, these are exactly the same. We got Prey on the Weak to do extra damage to vulnerable enemies. We have Resilience, so that if we take too many hits, we got some flat damage reduction. Guaranteed Overpower with Blood Boil. Metamorphosis, of course, Unstoppable was great. Being able to just break a CC with evading, and then also getting Unstoppable for the Bolt's Will Pants to get that 40% damage multiplier. And then Sanguine Brace, because, I mean, Overpower, Fortify. Kill stuff, get Fortify. Pretty easy. Expertise, we got Two-Handed Axe, of course, to get that extra damage to vulnerable enemies. Abilities wise, we changed some stuff here. We had Bash on there before. We moved that over to Lunging Strike so that we can just get Berserking for 1.5 seconds. I don't think that number includes the Berserking duration on like the boots and stuff, but oh wait, I don't have Berserking duration on my boots anymore. Anyway, just to get things jump started, we can lunge, right? Of course, Hammer of the Ancients, and then Furious Hammer of the Ancients. This is the main reason I did a lot of changes on the Paragon board, because I realized I was leaving a lot of damage off the table by not having Max Fury. Anyway, going down here, anything that says that it has 5 points only has 1 point. That's the great thing about the Shaco, right? Rallying Cry with Tactical Cry at the beginning of a dungeon. You just use the Tactical Cry. You get movement speed a little bit, and then generate Fury. The Fury that you get from the pants, they go with the 20% resource generation, right? So you get the resource generation, and then you get the 50 resource, and then that gets boosted by your resource generation. Anyway, Challenging Shout, just to get some DR. This has 2 points into it, War Cry, and then we have Power War Cry. Mighty War Cry would actually be pretty good because it gives you Fortify, but I use this because I like damage. We do not have Raid Leader. Somebody got upset about that, but yes, you only got so many points, right? But we do get the other two, Booming Voice, Guttural Yell. Aggressive Resistance and Prolific Fury. Come down here. 1 and 2 Thick Skin to get the counteroffensive. 3 in the Pit Fighter. Invigorating Fury 3, so we had to put 1 in a Tempered Fury. You could put more in there so you get more damage. But again, you got limited nodes, so what are you going to do? Heavy-Handed, Wallop, and Brute Force. And then Unbridled Rage, and that's the biggest damage multiplier you can have, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, yeah, that's just the skill tree. Let's go over to the Paragon board. Let's see, we got, this is a big change. We put Ire in the starter board. A lot of people do this, I know. We put Ire in the starter board instead of on the Overpower board, Bonebreaker. Come through here, we got all of them, and then you actually don't need this node here. Hey, look at that. Anyway, I'll put it over here. Come through here, got all the nodes. Come up to here, which is Carnage. And then we have Might here, also pretty much where everybody puts it, because damage while berserking is what you want. So boosting your damage while berserking is a pretty good idea, right? And then 8% multiplicative damage, which of course is good as well. And then you get this damage reduction from close. It's just a good board to have it on. Come up here, we split here. Damage while berserking over here. Come up here real quick, and then Decimator, and then we have Crusher in here. I think this is the same as before. And then we're gonna go over here. This is where one of the big changes were. This is what everybody does. I know. I used to only have stuff here. I moved stuff to here, and it's good. Okay. Yeah. Then we come through here. We have Territorial here. We removed some nodes from here because it's just flat damage. So we only got things that were on a path, and we grabbed these ones right here because they're big boosts. Grab the Resistance. Come up here. Grab this Fury over here. This is Fury on Kill. This is also this plus the ring is what sustains the build to be an all-in-one build. You can hit 400 million on Duriel, but then you can just run through dungeons. It's absolutely broken. Anyway, we come up here. Bonebreaker. We were going up here and grabbing this stuff, coming down, coming through here, going up through there. To cut some nodes, to go down here, we just cut this way. Okay. And come up through here, grab Bonebreaker, making sure to, up here, you want to grab the damage reduction on Fortified if you can. You can't do it right here, but you want to grab that one. And then right here, you want to make sure that you're doing the damage while fortified, not damage while healthy. And damage while healthy is fine right here because you don't. It's either this or this. I mean, pretty simple. And then we have exploit in here. Just enough. Well, I do have one extra point here, but it was on a nice path, right? Just to make them vulnerable when you first hit them. Goes really good with the decimator. The node that's over here. The one that each time you make an enemy vulnerable, your damage is increased by 10% multiplicative. Overpowering a vulnerable enemy gives it another 10% multiplicative. So it just guarantees that the second you hit something, you have 10% multiplicative damage. It's not the biggest thing in the world, but it's nice. And then the reason why everybody wants damage while berserking, which is blood rage, and this is why we added bleeding to the build as well. So by putting Berserk Ripper on the gloves, we take off Ghost Walker, put the other one on the boots, put Berserk Ripping on the gloves. The beginning part that usually doesn't apply to HoTA builds is the part that says killing a bleeding enemy has a 10% chance to grant berserking for 5 seconds. So the idea is that every single enemy you hit, even if they instantly die, bleed gets applied. They die, and each time they die, you get a 10% chance to give yourself 5 berserking. So you run some berserking duration stuff. You have a lot of damage while berserking. So I felt like putting that on the gloves, even though it doesn't really add any damage, it worked pretty well in the actually running it in the dungeons as well and stuff. It just makes it where you're always berserking. We were already almost always berserking, but it just like really made it where you could just forget about it and go. And that is really it for the video, though. We got this one in good time. Usually these things are 20 minutes long. This one's gonna be like 15. If you wanted to, you could try to work some stuff around here. Technically, if you have a Shaco and you don't give a shit about gaining 20% bonus maximum life when you use Challenging Shout, you could technically take this stuff and you could put it down here and get your max fury. That's actually not a bad idea. You just go boom, boom. I can still use Challenging Shout because I have a Shaco, and then just put the points in. That's pretty much the most broken thing you can do with the Shaco. I like having the max life. That's not a bad idea at all. You could also take 1 point on here, whatever. I like it like this because I like the multiplicative damage even if it's only 1.5%. And that is really it, though. I appreciate anybody that's watching. I'm gonna do some more build guides. I'm working on a Blizzard Sorcerer right now that I really want it to be almost as good as Ball Lightning. I know that's really it's like high order, and I know that other people have builds and they're okay. They're not anywhere near as good as Ball Lightning though. I would like one that at least kills bosses just as quick and pretty easily, and I'm gonna try to figure that out. But anyway, everybody have a good day.